Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. In this episode, we're diving into something that most backcountry hunters completely overlook until it bites them on the mountain: nutrition. Not just what snacks you toss in your pack. I'm talking about how you fuel your body to perform, how you recover, how you sustain energy through hard climbs and cold nights, and how you avoid the crashes that can wreck a hunt faster than any busted stock. Out here in the backcountry, food isn't just calories, it's gear. If you get it wrong, you don't just move slower, you start thinking slower. You lose focus, make poor decisions, and next thing you know, the bull's gone, and so is your window. So why should you listen to me about hunting nutrition? Well, I'm not just some guy with a couple of hunts under my belt. I've spent over 29 years as a professional strength, conditioning, and nutrition coach. I've worked with thousands of people, from elite athletes and military operators to weekend warriors and everyday folks trying to lose weight or build muscle. And I've personally tested just about every nutritional approach out there. I've lived on balanced whole food. I've gone strict keto, done high-carb endurance fueling as an elite athlete, and even run full carnivore for extended periods just to understand it. I've tested performance nutrition from both ends of the spectrum, and I've taken all that experience into the backcountry over the last 33 years of chasing elk, mule deer, and other western big game. And I'll tell you right now, nutrition will make or break you in the field. It's not sexy. It's not a new call or camo pattern, but if you want to hunt longer, hike harder, and stay sharp all week, it starts with what's in your gut. In this episode, I'm breaking down exactly what backcountry hunters need when it comes to fueling their bodies. We're going to talk about macronutrients, calories, and the truth behind popular diet strategies, including the one I personally use and others like Carnivore, Keto, high-carb endurance, and yes, even the gas station garbage some guys still rely on. We'll talk pros and cons, real-world application, and most importantly, what actually works when you're miles deep and running on grit. This isn't theory, this is built on experience, so let's get into it. Let's start with the basics, but not the bro science version. We're talking real-world macronutrient breakdown for backcountry performance. In simple terms, your body runs on three primary macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, and fat. You've heard that before, but most hunters don't truly understand how each of those plays a role in their energy, their recovery, and their decision making when you're deep in the backcountry. So let's break it down. Your protein is the repair crew, right? Protein is your muscle repair and recovery team. Every time you load a heavy pack, drag out a bull, or hike 12 miles over deadfall, you're creating microscopic damage in your muscle fibers. That's not a bad thing unless you don't give your body the building blocks to repair that tissue. You're going to stay wrecked if you don't fuel it properly, right? You feel beat up by day 3 and your performance nosedives. Now in the backcountry, you're not looking to build muscle, right? You're trying to maintain, protect it, and stay functional under constant physical stress. That means you need consistent, high-quality protein intake, even if you're eating fewer calories overall. I aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day, even when I'm hunting. And yes, that can be tough to hit out there. That's why I prep accordingly. Your jerky, your high-protein trail meals, whey isolate, powdered bone broth, whatever gets the job done without wrecking your pack weight. Let's talk about carbohydrates, your gas pedal. Here's where a lot of guys get confused. Carbs are not the enemy. They're your fuel. Carbohydrates are your body's preferred energy source during high output activity. That's why we have a liver that stores almost 2 hours worth of moderate intensity exercise as glycogen. And if you're chasing elk through steep timber, glassing ridgelines all day or packing out quarters over miles of vertical, you're in high output mode whether you realize it or not. When your carb stores run low, you start to feel it. You lose your pop on the climbs, your legs feel flat, your mental sharpness dulls. Carbs give you the energy to react fast, climb harder, and stay focused. The trick is not overloading on sugary junk that spikes your blood sugar and crashes you later. The goal is to find portable, slow digesting carbs that keep you steady, like dried fruit, instant rice, oats, granola, or even honey packets if you're burning hot while you're packing out. If I'm doing a lot of climbing or stalking, I make sure I've got carbs on deck at every break, and I pair them with protein or fat to slow down digestion and keep my blood sugar balanced. Now, fats, that is going to help you with your endurance engine, right? Let's talk about fat because a lot of times this gets skipped over in the mountains. Fat is your body's slow burning fuel source, and it packs more than twice the calories per gram than carbs or protein. That's 9 calories per gram compared to just 4 from protein or carbs. That makes it a smart choice when every ounce in your pack matters. Fat keeps you going during long, steady efforts. It's what fuels you through the slow glassing days and the meat hauls and the long, cold nights. I like to include high-fat foods like nut butters or salami, cheese, trail mixes, coconut oil, fat-rich freeze-dried meals, and again, I balance it out. I don't go full fat or full carb or full protein. I try to keep it centered. This is where a lot of hunters screw this up. Most guys heading into the mountains underfuel, especially when it comes to protein. Or they go all in on sugar-heavy, carb-blasting energy snacks and bonk halfway through the hunt. Or they try some extreme diet they saw online without truly testing it out ahead of time in those real hunting scenarios. And that's what brings me to this next point. Carnivore diet. Great for fat loss, but harder to run in the backcountry. And this was the whole reason for this particular podcast and video was a question I had from one of the Team Backbone members about the carnivore diet. He runs the carnivore diet most of the year and then kind of strays away from it a little bit in the mountains because it's not as practical, which I agree with 100%. So let's talk about why that is. Because there's no doubt the carnivore diet has gained traction, especially with folks looking to lose weight, reduce inflammation, or simplify their nutrition. And I'll be honest, it works for a lot of people. It's simple. It's clean. You eliminate processed foods. You stabilize blood sugar. And for a lot of folks, it helps them drop body fat faster than anything else. But let me be real clear here. That doesn't necessarily make it a great option for backcountry hunting, especially if you haven't run it extensively in those scenarios. It's one thing to run carnivore at home with easy access to your fridge, fresh meat, and the ability to cook or grill whenever you want. But it's another thing entirely when you're miles deep with limited food weight, no refrigeration, and the need for quick energy and digestibility on the move. The main challenge with strict carnivore in the backcountry is this: limited portable meat options, no carbs for performance boosts, harder to digest high-fat meat in extreme or high elevation, low diversity in micronutrients over multiple days. Now, if someone is fully fat adapted, has practiced it in the field, and brings in the right shelf-stable options like their freeze-dried meats, their pemmican or powdered beef protein, it can work. But in my experience, most hunters crash on carnivore style eating in the mountains because their bodies aren't ready for that level of sustained demand without the carbs. Carnivore can absolutely help you cut weight and get lean in the off season. But when it's go time, I shift into performance nutrition mode because that's what keeps me in the game day after day. Now that we've covered what macronutrients actually do for you in the field, let's move into the real world nutrition strategies I've seen guys use out there, the good, the bad, and the misguided. Because the truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all diet that works for everyone. What works for a 28-year-old ultralight solo hunter with a trail running background might not work for a 52-year-old with a powerlifting history and a full camp setup. Your age, metabolism, fitness level, terrain, elevation, and hunt style all play a role in what kind of fuel will actually work for for you. And I've seen it all, both in my coaching business and in the field. So in this section, I want to give you a big picture overview of the 5 most common backcountry nutrition strategies I see hunters using. Then, in the next few segments, we'll break each one down with pros, cons, and tactical advice. So first, let's talk about balanced whole food nutrition. It's my preferred approach, so we're going to start with it. This is what I personally use and what I recommend to most hunters, especially if you want to perform well over multiple days, recover faster, and keep your mental edge. It includes a combination of high-quality proteins, complex carbs, and healthy fats, all from clean, minimally processed food sources that are lightweight and portable. It's not the easiest to plan, but it is the most consistent in terms of results. The next style, because it's so popular, let's touch on the carnivore diet again. This one's growing in popularity, especially among guys coming from a weight loss or anti-inflammation background. It's based entirely around animal products, red meat, eggs, cheese, and sometimes butter or organ meats. Some guys swear by it for simplicity and energy control. But as we'll talk about, it's got major limitations when you're out in the mountains with no access to fresh meat and limited fat adapted endurance capacity. That it's just very specialized, right? And if you're truly getting after it out there and you're up and down and covering tons of miles, it might not be the best option. We're also going to talk about keto, the low carb, high fat. This approach focuses on fat adaptation, training your body to run on fat instead of carbohydrates. Think nut butters, oils, cheeses, salami, and minimal carbs. The idea is to create stable, long-lasting energy without needing constant snacks or sugar spikes. I've seen this work for some highly fat-adapted hunters, but again, just like the carnivore, there are also some big risks if your body isn't dialed in before the hunt. The fourth style we're going to talk about is high-carb endurance fueling. This one's common amongst guys who come from triathlon or ultra running background. People, are used to gels, drink mixes, electrolyte powders, and fast digesting carbs as their primary energy sources. It can work well for short, explosive hunts with heavy movement, but it often lacks the satiety and sustainability over longer trips, especially if your gut isn't trained to handle that much sugar. Now, the fifth style is your convenience or junk fuel approach. Let's be honest, this is where a lot of hunters still land. Gas station snacks, granola bars, Pop-Tarts, jerky sticks, energy drinks, and whatever else is easy to toss in the backpack at the last minute. And while I get it, it's convenient, cheap, and familiar, this approach will eventually cost you inflammation, blood sugar swings, gut issues, poor recovery, brain fog. Those are all common side effects of the junk fuel method. We'll cover this more in later section 2 because it's probably the most common mistake I see hunters make nutritionally. But now that we've covered and kind of set the table with the 5 most common fueling strategies I've seen out there, let's dig into each one in more detail. Starting with the one I use myself, that balanced whole food nutrition, and why it works so well for serious backcountry hunters. It's the strategy I've found most effective, both for myself and for hundreds of hunters and athletes I've worked with. It's balanced, whole food-based fueling. This isn't about eating clean to be trendy. This is about fueling for performance, recovery, focus, and longevity on the mountain. Because when you're 6 days deep with sore knees, aching shoulders, and a heavy pack, and a bull tag still in your pocket, you don't need a theory. You need energy. You need clarity. You need to wake up with something left in the tank. And in my experience, this is the style of eating that keeps you in the fight. What does balanced actually mean? I'm not talking about some Instagram model's idea of balance. I'm talking about a practical mix of protein, carbohydrates, and fats spread throughout the day based on your activity level and physical demands. Here's what that looks like for me on a typical multi-day hunt. Protein from things like freeze-dried mountain meals with clean ingredients, jerky, dehydrated meats, tuna packets, and powdered whey and collagen blends. Carbohydrates, instant rice, oats, dehydrated potatoes, dried fruit, granola, honey packets, and trail bars with good ingredients. I lean towards slow digesting carbs to avoid any crashes. We're looking at fats, your nut butters, your olive oil packets, coconut oil, hard cheeses, salami, and high-fat trail mixes. The key is I build everyday's meals with intent. I know roughly how many calories I'll need. I know how much protein I want to hit. I know how to adjust based on terrain, elevation, and output. Because you don't need to count every macro in the field, but if you prepare with intention, your body won't let you down when it counts. Let's talk about why whole food matters. The more real food you can include, the better you're going to feel. Processed snacks, the things that come in the box in the bag, might be quick. And they often come with a cost. Inflammation, gut issues, blood sugar crashes, and fatigue. With whole food-based options, I've noticed better mental clarity during long glassing sessions, less joint pain even after brutal packouts, more stable energy across the day, better sleep and recovery at night, even in a bivy sack on the side of a ridge. That's the stuff you don't notice on day 1, but by day 4, it makes a difference. And when you finally get on a bowl, you want every bit of your mind and your body firing clean. Now, real results come from real hunts, right? I've tested this style of eating on solo, 7-day bivy hunts, guided group hunts, and everything in between. Whether I'm in the high country after mule deer or buried in dark timber chasing bugles, I keep coming back to this approach because it's just what works for me. Here's one specific example. I did a planned 6-day solo elk hunt where temps ranged from 85 in the day to below freezing at night. I packed in 2 pounds of food per day, averaging around 3,500 calories, and kept my intake at somewhere in the neighborhood of 30% protein, 40% carbs, and 30% fat. I never bonked. My legs stayed under me the whole time, and I still had the mental sharpness to get into bow range on day 5 and make it count. It's not because of being superhuman and special, it's because I was fueled with intention. And there's a reason why most guys don't do this. Planning balanced, whole food style nutrition for a backcountry hunt takes work up front. You have to test food in the off season. You have to prep your meals ahead of time. You might even have to dehydrate your own food or pay a little more for higher end freeze-dried meals. And most guys skip it because it's easier to grab what's cheap and convenient. But that choice shows up later when you're tanked out, mentally foggy, or crashing in the afternoon while trying to glass. I'm telling you, invest in your food the same way you invest in your boots, your bow, and your pack, because your food is just as important to success as your gear. Now let's pivot for a moment, take a closer look at one of the most talked about nutrition strategies out there, the carnivore diet. It's gotten a lot of attention in recent years, and some hunters are trying to run it in the backcountry. So let's break down what works and what doesn't. This is probably the most hotly debated diet in the hunting space right now. Some guys swear by it, others mock it, but like most things, the truth lives somewhere in the middle. I've run strict carnivore. I've tested it for weeks at a time, both at home and on the mountain, and I've coached people through it, from first-timers to diehards. So I'm not speaking from secondhand opinions here. I've lived it, and here's what I can tell you. At its core, carnivore is an elimination diet. You eat only animal-based products. So that usually means red meat. So your beef, elk, venison, bison, those types of things. Fatty cuts of meat, eggs, butter, and sometimes cheese or organ meats. Zero carbohydrates, trying to stay away for the most part from fruits, veggies, grains, or starches, right? Some folks will introduce some fruit in there, but for the most part, we're just going to say they're staying away from it. The idea is to eliminate all plant-based foods and focus on nutrient-dense animal products, especially high-fat, high-protein sources. Some guys take it even further with raw organs or nose to tail eating. Others are more flexible and include dairy or coffee. But either way, the goal is usually simplicity, reduced inflammation, fat loss, and trying to strive for stable energy. So let's talk about the pros, why some hunters love it. Let's start with what works, because there are some clear benefits, especially for certain people in the right context. Simplicity. There's no guesswork. You're either eating meat or you're not. For guys who hate counting macros or don't want to meal prep with a dozen ingredients, carnivore is about as simple as it gets. Satiety and stable energy, right? Staying full. High fat and protein means you feel full longer. Your blood sugar stays level. You're not crashing mid-morning because your oatmeal wore off. Reduced inflammation. A lot of people report less joint pain, bloating, and brain fog when switching to carnivore, especially if they were sensitive to processed carbs, dairy, or plant foods. Fat adaptation. If you stay on carnivore long enough, your body learns to run on fat for fuel. That can help some hunters with long, steady output, especially if they're not relying on quick bursts of high energy for high performance. And look, if your main goal is fat loss, blood sugar control, or healing your gut, carnivore can be a powerful short-term tool. I've used it myself to drop inflammation and tighten things up after a hard off season. It's effective when used intentionally. Now the cons, why it's hard in the backcountry. This is where the conversation gets real, because while carnivore might work great at home, the backcountry is a different beast entirely, especially if you're getting after it back there. We're not talking about walking a half mile from the truck. We're talking about covering miles, because you've got limited portability. Fresh meat is heavy and perishable. Unless you're carrying freeze-dried carnivore meals or making your own jerky and pemmican, you're going to run out of viable options fast. And even those options can get expensive and repetitive. Lack of explosive fuel. Carbs are your explosive energy system. When you're climbing steep terrain, chasing bugles, or packing out quarters, your body demands glycogen. Carnivore leaves you with zero carbs to refill those tanks. That means your fatigue is going to be faster on high output days. You may feel flat or sluggish when intensity ramps up. Your recovery takes longer because your muscle glycogen stores stay depleted. I've personally felt this on hard hunts where I tried to run a low or no carb system. You're fine on flat ground, but when it's go time, you just don't have the same pop. Gut fatigue at altitude is a major concern with carnivore. Heavy, fatty meats can be harder to digest, especially when you're dehydrated or operating at elevation. I've had days where a slab of sausage or fatty steak sat in my gut like a rock and slowed me down. That's not what you want when you're covering 10 plus miles a day. The micronutrient limitations over time are also a concern. While organ meats can help, a strict carnivore diet in the mountains can leave you lacking in things like vitamin C, potassium, magnesium, and other micronutrients that support hydration, recovery, and focus. That might not show up on day 3, but on a 6, 7, 10-day hunt, it adds up. So my take as a coach and a hunter is, if you're running carnivore at home and you love how you feel, awesome. If it helps you shed weight, reset your digestion, and feel more clear-headed, that's a win. But for backcountry performance, I've seen it fall short more often than not, especially when guys aren't fully fat adapted or haven't tested it under stress. Most hunters I've worked with end up underfueling, underperforming, or losing steam midway through a hunt because they couldn't carry enough variety or calories to stay in the fight. Now, there are ways to modify carnivore if you're committed to it. Add honey or fruit pre-hunt for glycogen stores. Use electrolyte blends to replace lost minerals. Pack shelf-stable animal products like beef bars, powdered meat protein, or pemmican. Consider targeted carb refeed days during long hunts. But all of that takes preparation, testing, and a deep understanding of your own body. And even then, I'd argue that balanced nutrition with a focus on quality animal protein, slow digesting carbs, and healthy fats gives you the most sustainable edge over time, especially if you're covering real ground and pushing extremely hard. Now let's move into another nutrition strategy I've seen gain a lot of traction, especially among hunters who are a little more health conscious or who follow folks in the ultralight or prepper communities. We're talking about keto and its cousin, the low-carb, high-fat approach. Now let's just get something clear. Keto is not the same as carnivore. It's close, but it's not the same animal. The keto diet focuses on keeping your carbohydrate intake extremely low, usually 50 grams per day, below that level, and making up the difference with high fat and moderate protein. Think of it this way. Keto is about managing macronutrient ratios to shift your metabolism into a fat-burning state of ketosis. Carnivore is about eliminating all plant foods, whether you hit ketosis or not. So the low-carb, high-fat is a looser version of keto. You're still limiting carbs, but not necessarily tracking every gram or aiming for deep ketosis. It's more about stable energy and reducing carb dependency. Both strategies aim to train your body to run on fat for fuel, and that comes with both benefits and risks, especially in the backcountry. The pros with keto or low carb, high fat include fat adaptation, for your energy system. The big advantage here is stable energy without constant refueling. When your body is fat adapted, it doesn't rely on sugar spikes every hour. That means fewer crashes, less hunger, and more consistent output over long days, especially during lower intensity effort like glassing, hiking, or stalking. This can be a big deal on 10-day hunts when you're limited on food because of the weight and you don't want to be eating every 90 minutes just to keep moving. Another benefit is high calorie density per ounce. Fat carries 9 calories per gram compared to 4 for protein and carbs. That means you can pack more calories in less weight. Foods like nut butters, oils, salami, macadamia nuts, and cheese are calorie dense and pack friendly. For weight-conscious hunters running multi-day trips or, covering serious elevation, this can make a real difference in overall pack efficiency. You also get reduced inflammation and GI stress. Many keto and low-carb users report less joint pain, better digestion, improved focus, especially if they've eliminated processed carbs and sugar from their baseline diet. This can be a game changer for hunters with autoimmune issues, gut sensitivity, or who are trying to stay sharp under stress. Now, let's talk about the cons and when keto and the low-carb can backfire. This is what a lot of the influencers out there don't talk about, because while keto and low-carb, high-fat can work, they're not bulletproof. And in my experience, they can turn on you fast if you're not dialed in on them. The adaptation period sucks. Let me be blunt. If you try to go keto right before your hunt, you're going to suffer. When your body isn't used to running on fat, the transition can feel like the flu. You'll be weak, foggy, dehydrated, and underperforming. And guess what? That's the exact opposite of what you need when you're chasing elk at 8,000 feet of elevation. If you want to test keto or low carb, high fat, you need to fully adapt for weeks, if not months ahead of time. And even then, it takes trial and error to get it right. No glycogen means no explosive output. Keto works fine for steady state, low to moderate intensity activity, but when you need to go hard, charging a ridge, side hilling to cut off a bull, or packing 100 plus pounds uphill, your body needs glycogen, which comes from carbs. You can train your body to be more efficient, but you cannot cheat biology. Without stored carbs, your top end output is going to suffer. That might not matter if you're sitting a water hole, but if you're hiking 10 plus miles a day, living out of a bivy sack, it will show up. I've seen it, I've felt it. It's harder to replenish and recover fuel-wise with keto. After a big climb or a long stalk, your muscles are depleted. In a normal mixed balanced diet, you eat some carbs and protein and your body refills on its muscle glycogen and starts repairing. On keto, you're still running low and you're slower to recover. That makes day-to-day performance more of a grind. You'll feel it in your legs, in your mental sharpness, and in your motivation by day 4 or 5. My take, and when to use it and when to avoid it, is that yes, if you're fully fat adapted well before season, go for it. Make sure you're strategic about food choices. You're hunting a style that leans on low intensity, long duration movement, dialed in with hydration and electrolytes, and not relying on bursts of explosive effort every single day. But I would not recommend it for new hunters who haven't tested it under physical stress. Guys doing steep, aggressive archery elk hunts. Anyone who's trying it out for the very first time right at their hunt. Or hunters looking to maximize their recovery and daily output across a multi-day push. Personally, I've experimented with low-carb, high-fat during pre-season training hikes, and I've had decent results, but when it's go time, I want carbs in the tank, protein for repair, and fat for endurance, not just one or two of the three. Think of it like a triangle, and if you're missing any one of those, you're not going to maximize your peak performance, right? That's the beauty of a balanced performance approach. You get the best of all systems without betting everything on one metabolic state. Next up, let's swing the pendulum all the way to the other side. We're going to explore the opposite end of the spectrum, the high-carb endurance fueling strategy. It's popular amongst ultra athletes and newer hunters looking for quick energy, but it's not without its drawbacks. This one's especially common amongst guys who come from a running, cycling, or triathlon background, or folks who follow popular ultralight or fitness-first hunting influencers. It's built around fast digesting carbs, timed frequently throughout the day to keep energy high and glycogen topped off. Think energy gels, drink powders, electrolyte mixes with sugar, candy, rice-based bars, dried fruit, oat-based cookies, and high-carb freeze-dried meals. In a lot of ways, this is the sports nutrition approach applied to hunting. It has its strengths in certain areas, but also some serious limitations if you're not paying attention. Let's talk about the pros. You've got fast, readily available energy. Carbohydrates are your body's go-to fuel source for intense effort. When you're climbing ridges, pushing through deadfall, sprinting to intercept a bull, or hauling a heavy pack, your muscles are running on glycogen. Carbs. If you've got fast-acting carbs in your system, you can go harder, recover quicker, and hit multiple efforts in the same day. That's why a lot of high-output athletes live and die by this strategy. It's easy to digest on the move. Things like fruit snacks, drink powders, and rice bars digest fast. They don't sit in your gut, and they can be sipped or eaten while moving. That's a huge plus when you're on a stalk or glassing and don't want a heavy meal. You've got plenty of ultralight options. One reason this approach is attractive for backcountry hunters is the weight. Powdered carbs and dried fruit have great calorie to ounce ratios. You can pack a lot of energy into a small space, especially when you're planning for 5+ days off grid. But there are cons. That all sounds good, but this is where the high carb only strategy breaks down, especially for hunters, not necessarily endurance racers. You've got to be constantly refueling, right? The biggest issue is you're always hungry. Fast carbs burn fast. That means you're constantly snacking to avoid bonking. And if you don't stay ahead of it, you'll crash hard. And that's fine if you're doing loops around a trailhead. But if you're sitting still for 4 hours glassing a basin or locked into a slow still hunt through dark timber, you don't want to be thinking about your next sugar hit every 45 minutes. Your blood sugar can spike and crash. A high-carb plan without proper fat or protein leads to roller coaster energy levels. You feel great right after the snack, then shaky, irritable, foggy an hour later. That's not the state you want to be in when you need to make a decision, draw a bow, or stalk in quiet terrain. You get low satiety, mental and physical fatigue. Carbs alone just don't satisfy and keep you full. You might hit your calorie target, but you still feel empty. That leads to mental fatigue, poor focus, and overeating as you chase that full feeling all day long. In a controlled environment, like a race or a gym session, it's manageable. But out there, when your body and brain are under constant stress, that feeling of always being hungry can break you down. You're also running the risk of getting gut stress over time. Fast digesting carbs can cause, digestive issues, especially if you're dehydrated or dealing with elevation. Too many sugary snacks, gels, or drink powders, and you'll feel it. Bloating, gas, and the wrong kind of urgency are not what you want 6 miles deep. My take on high carb strategies is that I've used these high carb strategies on high output scouting trips, and I've tested it as part of midday refuels when I know I'm going to be pushing hard for 3 or 4 hours. And when used in short bursts, it's effective. But I don't rely on it all day, every day, especially not on a 6-7 day plus backcountry hunt. Here's how I do it instead. I use carbs as a tool, prepping with more in the backcountry, in the morning, and using them strategically before big climbs. I combine them with protein and fat to slow digestion. I make sure they come from real food, not just candy or drink powders. I balance them out across the day so I don't crash in the evening. If you're doing a 1 to 3 day high output hunt, this approach can possibly work if you've trained your gut to handle it. But for multi-day hunts, longer packouts, and sustained decision making, carbs alone will not carry you. That's why I don't throw out carbs, but I also don't worship them. They're not a religion, they're a tool. All right, let's talk about the trash food strategy. Gas station snacks, dollar store fuel, and the old school mentality of it's just calories, throw it in. You know what I mean. Honey buns, candy bars, crackers, Pop-Tarts, powdered donuts, jerky sticks loaded with sugar, sodium bombs like cup noodles or top ramen, and enough energy drinks to stop a bull elk's heart. And I get it. It's easy, it's cheap, it's familiar. You can walk into any convenience store, load up for your hunt, and feel like you're ready to go. But let me be clear, that stuff is garbage fuel, and it's one of the biggest reasons hunters bonk, burn out, or quit mid-hunt. It's simple. Most hunters don't think of food as performance fuel. They think of it as a snack. And when it comes to hunting prep, they'll spend $2,500 on optics and $50 on gas station groceries. We've all done it. I've done it. I've looked at my pack the night before a hunt and thought, this will be good enough. It might get you through a day or two, but by day 3, your gut's wrecked. Your energy's flat, and you're second guessing your choices while trying to glass with a pounding sugar crash behind your eyes. So let's break this down a little bit further. High sugar, low nutrient foods spike your blood sugar, then dump you just when you need to focus. Excess sodium without enough potassium or magnesium throws off your hydration. You cramp, you get lightheaded, you can't recover. Ultra-processed carbs with zero fiber lead to gut bloating, digestive issues, and that heavy, bogged-down feeling. And here's the kicker. These foods don't satisfy you. You eat 400 calories of snack cakes and you're hungry again 30 minutes later. So you eat more. Then you crash harder. It's a vicious cycle, and it kills performance, clarity, and drive. And when you're 5 miles deep and you feel foggy, weak, or frustrated, you're more likely to quit. You stop pushing, you cut the trip short, or worse, you make bad decisions that cost you the one opportunity you worked all year for. It's not just bad food, it's a mindset. Eating like this in the backcountry doesn't just hurt your body, it weakens your mindset. When you're fueling with junk, you're sending your body mixed signals. You're saying, I want to hunt hard, but I'm not giving you the tools to do so. You're breaking trust with yourself. And in a place where mental toughness matters most, That matters more than most people think. You can train your body to grind, but if you're running on trash, your brain's not going to back you up when it gets hard. There is a better way. Look, I'm not saying you need to go full organic or build custom backcountry meals in your garage, but you can do better without blowing your budget or, doubling your food weight. Here's what I tell my clients. If you would eat before a hard workout or a long hike, it's probably good to go. If you wouldn't, don't take it into the mountains. If it spikes your blood sugar or bloats you at home, it's going to be worse at 10,000 feet. Choose food that makes you feel strong, alert, and focused, not just full. Always test your food during training hikes before season. Don't experiment on day one of the hunt. And if you really need something sweet or comforting, bring one or two things. Candy bar, a few Oreos, something for morale, but make it the exception, not the fuel source. Now let's shift gears and talk about something that gets almost no attention: how your nutrition should change from pre-season to in-season. Because I see this mistake all the time. Hunters do great in the off-season. They meal prep, they track macros, they lose weight or build strength and prep for season. Then hunting season hits and they either try to keep doing the exact same thing, or worse, they throw it all out the window and fall off the wagon. Training season and hunting season are not the same. The goal is different. The demands are different. So your nutrition better be different too. In the preseason, your job is to adapt and improve. You're training your body to build strength, increase endurance, drop unnecessary weight, improve cardiovascular output, and recover faster between workouts. That means your nutrition is the preseason structure for you. It has to be structured. You're aiming for clean fuel that supports muscle growth or maintenance, body composition changes, glycogen replenishment, hormonal stability, and good gut function. This is when you might run carnivore to drop inflammation, or keto to reset your metabolism, or dial in a balanced plan to lean out without losing muscle. You've got time to experiment. You're at home. You can test meals, track results, adjust as needed. You're in control, and that's a good time to refine what works for you. But once boots hit the dirt and the hunt begins, you're now in season. It's time to execute with your fuel. When the hunt starts, all that matters is performance. You're not trying to lose weight. You're not trying to PR your lifts. You're not trying to eat clean for the sake of it. You're out there to hunt well, move well, and stay sharp. This is where a lot of hunters screw up. They stick with their preseason diet even when the terrain, the elevation, the stress, and the energy demands change completely. Let me say this clearly. Your body doesn't care how clean your food is on day 5 of a tough hunt. It cares about calorie intake, enough to keep you going, macronutrient balance to power effort and aid in recovery, digestibility so you don't have any gut issues, convenience, easy to access and consume mid-hunt. You might need more carbs than you're used to. You might need more sodium and potassium. You might find that your favorite protein bar at home makes you feel sick at altitude. This is not the time to cling to a nutrition plan out of pride or identity. This is the time to listen to your body and fuel it like an athlete in the middle of a competition in the backcountry. So this is how I approach the shift. Preseason equals control the variables. I test my gut with different food types. I build my plan around high quality ingredients. I prioritize recovery and adaptation. I use structure to get leaner, stronger, and more efficient. In season, I simplify. I eat for fuel, not for perfection. I balance macros across the day to avoid crashing. I keep electrolytes, hydration, and digestion dialed in. I prepare to adapt based on terrain, pack weight, and effort level. I don't count calories in the field because that should have already been planned intentionally. I know what works for my body because I tested it before season, not during. Here's the big takeaway. If you want to be one of the guys who finishes strong on day 7 instead of falling apart on day 3, you need to understand this shift. Train to adapt, fuel to execute. That's the line. You don't bring training diet into the mountains and expect it to hold up under extreme conditions. You bring a refined performance system that's built for the hunt, and that's where most guys miss. They either stay stuck in off-season mode or treat hunting nutrition like a campfire snack fest. Neither of those will get you through a high-performance backcountry hunt at your optimum level. But if you treat food like gear and you fuel like a strategy, you will show up different. You will recover better. You will stay mentally sharp, and when the shot opportunity comes, you'll be ready. All right, we've talked about strategy. We've covered macros, philosophies, and how to fuel for performance. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts of how I actually pack food for a backcountry hunt, because it doesn't matter how solid your plan is. If it doesn't make it into your pack in a usable form, it's worthless. You need food that's portable, calorie dense, tolerable to eat for days on end, and that won't destroy your guts or your gear. Here's how I handle it. We need to talk about your daily caloric targets, how much to bring. I aim usually for elk hunting, let's say, for 2,800 to 3,600 calories per day, sometimes more, depending on the terrain I'll be in, my expected output, the weather. Cold, you're going to need more calories. Whether I'm solo or with a group. Heavier guys might need more. Smaller guys can get away with less. But trust me, don't skimp. You may not feel as hungry out there, but your body is burning through fuel like crazy. If you would like to learn how to calculate the exact number of calories you need in the backcountry, I made a video and I'll link to it here for you. Get dialed in with that. It's going to tell you exactly how many calories you need so that you're not guessing anymore. If we were going to talk about generalizations, I'm going to say that you need 1.5 to 2 pounds of food per day is a good target. But check out that video so that you can really get dialed in. You want to aim for at least 100 grams of protein daily to preserve muscle and recovery, and a balance of fat and carbs to fuel movement and endurance. I break my food into daily kits, 1 gallon Ziploc bag per day. Each one includes breakfast, something quick, like hot oats with powdered peanut butter and collagen protein, or a freeze-dried egg scramble. Mid-morning is going to be your snacks like jerky, a bar, trail mix. Lunch is more protein with a tuna packet and crackers, or meat and cheese rolled up into a tortilla. Afternoon, you might be hitting honey stinger waffle, nut butters, and dried fruit. For dinner, high quality freeze-dried meal, plus probably some fats from like an olive oil packet for some extra calories. And you might even look at an evening bonus, a couple of dark chocolate squares or a cookie, keep up the morale, get your dessert. That gives me a steady drip of energy all day long with meals I actually look forward to eating. And I don't need to dig around in my pack wondering what's for lunch. I just grab the next bag and I go. Protein is the hardest macro to pack, but you have to get it in. So here's what works well for me. Jerky. Homemade is better than store-bought, obviously. Tuna or salmon packets, whey isolate or collagen powders, beef or bison bars, freeze-dried meals with 30 plus grams of protein per serving, bone broth powder, great for hydration and protein. I often mix protein powder into my morning oats or coffee, or use it as a recovery shake with Cold Creek water at camp. Let's talk about fats, because those are going to help you hit your calorie needs without adding a ton of weight. I'll pack single serve olive oil packets, your nut butters, and I try to go with almond rather than peanuts, which aren't really a nut. Cheese sticks or blocks for early days, hard salami or summer sausage, macadamia nuts for high fat, low volume. Carbs are going to give you the pop for big climbs. Your dried fruit, your mango and banana chips, your dates, granola or trail mix with raisins and dark chocolate, honey packets or maple syrup gels, a few clean bar options like the RX or off-grid. I always try new food in training hikes first though. If it gives me heartburn, bloating, or crashes, I cut it before the hunt. Let's talk about packing for 3, 5, and 7 day hunts. 3-day hunt. You can pack fresh food and a few heavier items. Cheese, cooked bacon, tortillas, or avocado might make it in there. Don't stress weight too much because you're focused more on comfort and energy. On a 5-day hunt, your weight starts to matter more. You're going to cut your fresh food out and switch to dehydrated or shelf-stable items. You're going to pre-pack individual days so you don't overeat and you don't run short. On a 7+ day hunt, every ounce counts. You need calorie density, food that stores well, and reliable digestion. And always include electrolyte tablets or mixes, not just plain water. Here are a few bonus tips that might help you out as well. Vacuum seal your meals to compress size and preserve freshness, right? Even if you're buying the prepackaged ones, take them out of there, vacuum seal them on your own. Label each meal with calories and macros. It helps keep you accountable. Use a separate Ziploc for trash. You don't want tuna juice on your socks. If you hate it at home, you'll hate it more at 10,000 feet. Make sure you test and taste everything before season. Bring one morale booster. For me, that might be some dark chocolate or some peanut butter M&Ms. When your food is dialed in, you stop worrying about fuel. You stop fighting hunger. You stop second guessing whether you brought enough. You just hunt. You recover. You stay sharp. That's what the backcountry nutrition is supposed to be about, right? And that brings us to the final piece of this puzzle. It's not just about food. It's about how you think about food. So let's wrap this up with a big picture takeaway on why nutrition is not just fuel, but strategy. Because by now you've probably realized something. This isn't just food that we're talking about here. It's not just about macros or diet camps that you're a part of, like Carnivore or Keto, or what the latest fitness influencer says works best in the mountains. This is about strategy. It's about how you fuel the machine when the mission matters. And when you treat your nutrition like a key part of your backcountry plan, just like your boots, your weapon, and your layering system, you stop being reactive and you start taking control. Nutrition equals your performance edge. Most hunters spend months dialing in gear. They test bows, swap stabilizers, buy high-end optics, and spend hours e-scouting every drainage. But when it comes to food, they throw in some bars and jerky and call it good. That's like training for a marathon and skipping breakfast the day of the race. Food is gear. Food is recovery. Food is mental clarity, energy, and resilience when things go sideways. It's not an afterthought. It's a performance edge. Over the years, I've hunted with some tough guys with strong legs, strong lungs, and just hardwired drive. But I've seen those same guys fall apart because they didn't bring enough fuel or brought the wrong fuel. And on the flip side, I've seen average fitness guys with great nutrition and a steady mindset go the distance, tag out, and haul meat out of the mountain when others tapped out. That's not luck, that's strategy. If you can stay fueled, stay focused, and recover every night, you keep showing up sharp. And when you show up sharp, you make better moves. And when you make better moves, you kill more animals. Simple as that. I want you to make sure that you build your own system. I'm not here to sell you one perfect diet. You're not me, I'm not you. Your body might run better on more carbs. You might like keto or carnivore in the preseason and shift to balance once the hunt starts. You might mix carnivore for simplicity with endurance style quick carbs for bursts. Cool, that's the point. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to test it before the hunt. Treat nutrition with the same seriousness you treat your weapon or your glass, and build your own performance system that works for your body and your hunt style. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be intentional. If you've listened this far, it means you give a darn, and I respect that. Many hunters will never even think about this stuff. They'll keep winging it, keep crashing, and keep wondering why they feel gassed and foggy halfway through a hunt. But not you. You're here, you're learning, you're building an edge. And if you keep stacking those small advantages, nutrition, fitness, mental toughness, you become a different kind of hunter. The kind who doesn't just show up, but finishes strong. If this episode helped you, please share it with a buddy. And if you're serious about dialing in your training, your nutrition, your backcountry strategy, that's what Team Backbone is for. It's where I give you private access to all my nutrition mindset and gear systems, exclusive content on training, recovery, and real-world backcountry prep. We've got monthly gear giveaways, direct access to me so you can ask questions, troubleshoot, and dial in your own plan. Just go to backboneunlimited.com, click on the membership tab, and step into the inner circle. Whether you're prepping for elk, mule deer, bear, or just want to level up as a man, Team Backbone is built for you. Thanks for being here. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.